Joe. Oh Adam. Man, you went jacket.
No hoodie this time.
You've done a ton of thinking and a ton of production in automating workflows, in injecting AI into processes where it's beneficial. Tell me a little bit about what are some of the quickest wins that people are overlooking?
Yeah, so in terms of automating, augmenting, and accelerating an operator's workflow, the natural tendency is let's just rip out the legacy system, build it from scratch. Like that's often the last thing you want to do for a couple of reasons. One, that's wicked hard when you look at all these systems of systems and all the data interfaces in and out. So that's part one of it. Part two is the change management aspect. The reason why change needs to happen is because that operator, has scar tissue. They live it every single day.
Yeah.
And so the quick win is not replacing the legacy system. It is finding where the handoff tax is for that operator. Like what are they having to work around between system X and system Y, for example, to swivel chair from one network to another, or have to open up one window and then open up another window to copy and paste data. And so the quick win is really to figure out where the operator is, what his or her scar tissue is, and figuring out how you can layer on across the stack. I call it the stack, but really the data layer, the application layer, and then the AI layer in that order. So you figure out what the process gaps are, and then you fill them with technology, not the other way around.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like the swivel chair, Brittany was just talking about this when describing working with both a data engineering team and a architecture team. That finding these opportunity points around these swivel chair problems of the system integration is sadly the human doing wildly manual, sometimes just data entry tasks that are just then ripe with human error, but also like who wants to do that job?
Right, and they'll always find a way. It's just it'll be an 8-hour process instead of a 4-hour process.
Exactly right.
Which cuts down on bandwidth, velocity, and ultimately lethality when we're trying to support government customers.
Absolutely. Well, so then as we were thinking about these overly manual processes today, injecting more automation where it makes sense, and simplifying, maybe just cutting things out of the process where it makes sense, and then introducing AI or other tools, again, where it makes sense. What are some things that are overlooked then in those specific options? Okay,
so I would say anytime you automate or you augment or accelerate a human's workflow, to have them in the loop on that, a big risk here is that you lose sight of data authority and provenance, and plausible deniability. So if you, for example, you have a 13-step checklist, and now you're going to layer on an artificial intelligence capability to either automate that checklist or augment human behavior on that checklist. At some point, who has ownership of step 7 of 13 can get lost very easily. And that's a risk. It's not a reason not to do it. It's just something that we have to keep sight of as we innovate and digitally transform. And the way you do that is you cite your sources, you have an event ledger, and that's how you layer on that AI layer. Because then you can go back and look, and when tempo surges, you're going to have to be able to have that credibility and link back to see why an airfield's suitable, for example, for an airlift mission planning vignettes, or why a certain sensor works better in this environment than another sensor. Before AI even touches it, you need to have that foundation built.
How do you go about then figuring out which which pieces of this, whether it's a 13-step checklist or it's a 130-step checklist, how do you go about then, I guess, piecing together the full solution that starts cutting it down from 8 hours to 7 to 4 to maybe 30 minutes? How are you going after, is it a bite of the elephant at a time, or is there a more holistic approach?
Well, it's both, but the part of it is the system, is connecting the system to the whole, which is the enterprise.
Yeah.
And so operational architecture, right, is going to fill what we call the missing middle, which is going to be able to take that mission intent, that commander's intent, those desired outcomes up at the enterprise level and connect them to individual systems, which are part of systems, so on and so forth. So there's the part whole aspect of it. There's the where you sit is how you see the problem. Are you a data consumer or a data producer? Obviously, there's classification that you have to work in, sharing of data, all of those types of things. So we really have to work in that middle layer and look down and in while we're looking up and out, and you do that through operational architecture.
Yeah. Right. So as you're bringing up operational architecture, this idea of the mission thread, I'd love for you to help me understand how can I envision and understand what a mission thread is, and I think I've got a couple of follow-up questions.
Okay, absolutely. So my definition is very military biased. So you have a commander, and he or she has an intent. Let's go take that hill, or let's destroy this set of targets to shape for a follow-on operation. So there's some sort of concept of operations and intent that's up at a higher level, right?
Yeah.
But then in order to fulfill that purpose, you need a certain method, and there's certain tasks. Some of them are very explicit, like you got to take out a certain surface-to-air missile system. You have to do some sort of electromagnetic jamming. There's effects in space and cyberspace and other domains the Joint Force operates in. And then some are just more implied. And so while we're doing this, we have to assume that the adversary turned enemy is not going to go this way. They're either not going to notice or they're going to go that way. So mission engineering, and it's very well defined in the mission engineering guide, in the style guide put out by the Department of War, is connecting those higher level ConOps and that commander's intent to the actual activities and systems and performers and resources that have to fulfill that intent. And there's a missing middle in there, like we just talked about, where you have to really lay the foundation through operational architecture to know if I do this or I change that down here on the system level, it's going to have this effect up here at the enterprise level. And so that's how I would explain that. But it's wicked hard to do.
Right.
And you have to have the right capabilities, the right resources. We have 130 architects in our company. It takes a village to do this right. It really does.
No, that's super helpful. And then first follow-up then is around what, with that being a mission thread, introduce for me a digital mission thread.
So I'm not the right person to answer this.
Great.
But I'll just say, yeah, you can add it to stat later. But at some point, those ConOps and how the mission activities, there has to be a digital twin, or it has to be put into the right model-based system engineering language to be able to connect things together. And I'm not an engineer or a architect or a developer.
But you play one on TV.
But I know a lot of people that do it.
That's right. Well, so then back then, I think with your mission owner hat on, you've probably landed in a new organization every 2 to 3 years, and everything looks good for the first week, and then you start finding skeletons in the closet, the system skeletons in the closet. What are some of the scariest ones that you tend to find over and over again?
Well, probably the ones that, 2 to 3 years prior to me getting the new organization, they were having the conversation about what they were going to build, and there was going to be an increment of a software application. I even walked into an organization that had software fielded that was in sustainment, and no operators were using the software. So that happened. So there's more overt skeletons like that are out there. But an indicator of when there's skeletons in the closet is when software development or engineering, folks haven't been talking to the actual operators. They're working in a vacuum. They're working in isolation through a program office or something. But there's no iteration, because what I do know is from a past life, to do it the right way, it's a nonstop churn. Between staging, dev, prod, you get capabilities in prod, and you're still refining because you just don't. It's complex adaptive systems, right? There's emergent behaviors, things you didn't anticipate. Now I need this data in here because now that it's in production, I have other actors and performers that are interacting with the data.
Right.
And we saw this a lot in my past job at the Air Operations Center, because we started in the execution space, but there's so many things that happen in execution across airlift, air refueling, global air mobility, and aeromedical evacuation. And so as you would put capabilities into production, there was a lot of effects that were generated, some desired and some undesired. But through an agile process, that's flexible, you could go ahead and fill those gaps pretty quick. Fill the missing middle.
Sure.
Once the system hits the enterprise.
Yeah. So you've been out of uniform for half a year. What are some of the biggest things that you've observed kind of in that transition?
So I actually wrote about this yesterday online, but the linkages between operational art and operational architecture have become very apparent to me. And we kind of just talked about some of that. How do you link strategic purpose and aims to tactical actions would be the military's operational art, and how they plan, at higher levels to execute missions. On the operational architecture side, when we talk about system design and enterprise capability, it's the same darn thing that's happening.
Yeah.
Right? You have this missing middle in there, and you have a lot of different parts to the whole and a lot of different parts to other holes, different program offices, different services, allies and partners, all these things that have to connect on a sunny day, and then you go to a rainy day scenario and you're contested in air, land, cyber, maritime environments, space, everything just gets even more complex.
Yeah.
And so planning on the military side rhymes a lot with operational architecture on the, we'll call it software development, cloud, AI, cyber security side. And that was kind of eye-opening to me. But you have to have both too, because if you're over here filling the missing middle for operational architecture and you're not keeping up with what the commander and the fielded forces need, then you're building systems that don't meet the need as well.
Right, and it sounds like it also then means staying adaptable, so that way you have this transparency of from national security strategy all the way through to the execution. As strategy changes, as commander's intent changes, as other systems change, all of it then continues to stay connected and effective.
That's the ultimate mission thread right there, is how can we give options all the way up to the National Command Authority when contested, as geopolitical conditions are changing dynamically, and when we're being contested, right, in all domains of operations.
Maintain an uncommon advantage.
I love it. Maintain, generate. It's a system thing, right? Continuous generation of that effect.
Love it.
All right, cool.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.